our panel are sorting out their seating arrangements, I'd like to welcome you all for our latest AGM, where there'll be plenty of interest, I'm sure, not least in our new manager, Gary Monk, who I've met for the first time, and I dare say it's the same for many of you, and I would imagine that some of you have got some interesting questions for him. But before we begin, before I hand over to the voice of the Abbey, I would like to thank our three panellists for giving up their time to come and speak to us. It doesn't happen in every club, but it really does happen in ours. So thank you all for coming, and I'm sure it's going to be a very worthwhile evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Cambridge United Supporters Club and the Fans Forum. And I'm sure you know who everybody is. My name is Mike Barnes. You hear me on match days. You might see me on the pitch. Let me introduce very quickly our panel. Gary Monk, our new head coach. Alex Tunbridge, chief executive. And Godric Smith, who's on the board of directors. And let me just add my thanks to Andrews, thanking you all for being part of this evening. It's a Q&A format, roughly 45 minutes before the real business of the Cfu Agm takes place. So 45-minute Q&A. Put your hand up if you've got a question to ask, and I will come to you with the microphone. The panel has a microphone as well. And when you get the microphone, just say who you are and ask your question, and try to keep it succinct and brief. And we'll get as many in as we can. So no agenda for the Q&A. It's really to be set by you. So who wants to ask the first question? Oh, thanks very much for coming. Anybody got a question? I'm sure you, Scott, just come over to you.
Evening, gents. Yeah, Scott. I've been a match goer for 36 years or so, since the John Beck days. Yeah, welcome to the club, Gary. It's been a sort of tough start for you. I've got a couple of quick questions. Obviously, the position we're in at the moment has been tough. Some fans have sort of questioned, you know, the application of the players in these games, or heads going down. I know that's kind of two different things. As a manager, are you looking at giving some of them a rocket, as it were, or is it a little bit more of a sympathetic approach and making sure their confidence doesn't crumble? Because obviously we're in a tough moment, we're shipping goals, not scoring goals. Is that like an individual thing or collective thing that you look at where certain players might need that kick up the backside, as it were, or they need that little bit more of a sympathetic approach, if you like?
No, that's a good question. First of all, good evening to everyone. Thanks for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be here. To answer your question, I think it's a bit of both. I think there are players that you can, as you want to call it, a rocket a little bit more, and there are also ones that need that arm around them and control them. But I do think, you know, I've got experience of, I've been in a much more drastic situation than this, and I think the most important part about that is you're not taking away any confidence. So of course, like in a situation like this, do you know what I mean, the run that the team have been on, it's natural to lose a bit of confidence, lose a little bit of belief in themselves. In terms of application, I can honestly say it's often when you come into a situation like this, is like it can be very fractured in change rooms. You know, there can be a lot of separation and people with different agendas doing different things. But I can assure you that the group are a really good group, very much together. Spirit's good amongst them. That's a huge bonus, you know, in the type of situation we're in and what we need to try and achieve. But I think with these guys, it's about trying to not, as much as these last two games would have dented confidence and dented a little bit of self-belief in themselves, the key from my role, and then from obviously some of the players, the senior players within and the staff around them, is to make sure that we don't knock that confidence any more. You know, the key is I came to the club because I see clearly that they've got the ability to do what we need to do. And of course, when you're not quite getting results like we haven't in the last two games, and the type of results that we've had in the last two games, of course you're wary of that. But I think as well, part of my role is understanding, you all would have seen a lot of football. You've just mentioned there how long you've been a supporter. I've been in football a long time to know that when things are really good, you're never as good as you think you are. And when things are bad, you're never as bad as you think you are. I think it's just the emotion that comes off results kind of gives it the perception of how bad it can be. But if I'm honest with you, I think they're a good group of lads. Application-wise, I can't have any complaints at this moment in time. Of course, there's things that can be better and things I need a little bit more. And if we're talking about aggression and intensities and stuff like that, of course that can be higher. But I think I came here with the belief it hasn't changed in terms of there's enough in that changing room to achieve what we want to achieve. So my focus is on what's ahead. We have to learn. It's not that it's acceptable the last two games. We started off solid enough with a point against Northampton. Last two games, it's not that it's acceptable in terms of the result, but we have to focus on, the key in these type of situations is to focus on what's coming next, and try and build the players. It's kind of good that the Wycombe game's been moved. Sometimes you want to just get straight back out there, try and put it right straight away, but I think this because the Wycombe game's moved now, we get a good 10 days to 2 weeks to really work with the players. We haven't had a lot of chance on the training ground to work with them. So I'll be able to get some really good details in there. Also, I think it's good for a mental break. Just this week especially, just have a little bit of a mental break and kind of use it as a reset for the players. Okay, what's happened has happened. Do you know what I mean? Show them what they can do, keep showing them what they can do, get on the training ground, work, do you know what I mean, and build it up towards that next game. And then, of course, it's going to come thick and fast. So it's really about resetting them, getting a little bit more detail, which I think can help them, and then make sure that we take it into those next coming games. Yes, that makes sense. Cheers.
Thanks, Gary. And Scott, you had a follow-up, I think?
Yeah, just quickly, just on players. It was more one that I've kind of noted even before you came in. Given that we've had a lack of goals, I know we've stuck to that sort of stringent formation that we've played even under Bonds and then Neil and then yourself. I know it's hard to just rip things up and say, right, well, I'm doing this, but we've got Lyle Taylor and Macaulay Bonn in the building, and they've struck a good relationship previously. I think it was at Charlton, and even when they've played together briefly, they look like they have quite a good connection, and that's just something as a supporter that I've sort of seen, and I feel like I'd have liked to have seen more really of them two as a pair up top together. I know it's not always as simple as that, of course, but I feel like there is a combination there that's worked in the past. They know each other. When Macaulay signed, I think Lyle's quite vocal about that, and that was sort of a partnership I felt quite excited to see that we haven't seen yet. So that was just something, as a supporter, thinking out loud and telling you that, that's something I maybe would like to see, possibly. So.
Yeah. No, look, it's a fair enough point, and the good thing is we've got quite a few injuries coming back. We've got Gasson as well as a striker. Fajiri, he's back on the training ground, and of course coming into this period now, it's going to come thick and fast. That Easter weekend and stuff like that. It's back-to-back games. Saturday, Tuesdays. Obviously, we've got Friday, Monday, stuff like that. So the options are going to be needed, and of course that's a combination that can be used. Of course, I thought about those type of things, but it's not just as simple as the one thing you can't do in this situation as a coach. Of course, I have a preferred way of playing. There's in terms of how I like my teams to play, but I think you can't in these situations. You've got to try and do what you think's best for the strengths of the squad. And I think, in terms of where I see the squad and the characteristics and stuff like that, I think it's hard. I can't just send them out there really open and expansive. I think you can see there's some teams with mobility and stuff we can get hurt. But then there's also, I don't want to be a completely defensive team either. So it's just trying to get that balance right. We've got the balance right enough against Northampton, without being perfect, of course. But the last two games, that balance has kind of been disrupted. But if I'm honest with you, as much as we can depict anything, a lot of these situations, like I've been in, not just as a coach but as a player as well, is a lot of it happens where that first goal goes in, and then you're on the bad run. You feel sorry for yourself a little bit, or that you kind of think, oh, maybe here we go again, type of thing. And then what kind of happens then is you end up compounding maybe what was just one mistake. You may end up compounding it with another. We've got to get away from that. We can play a million more matches in our lives. There'll be a point where we go a goal down. Do you know what I mean? That's just the law of football. So it's making sure that in those moments, I think that's where I can maybe help them mentally in terms of where we can come back stronger and more resilient to that. And then you saw that, a perfect example of that is, okay, we're 2-0 down against Reading. We come out second half, we're right at them. You know, we have a glorious couple of chances, you know, back to back in terms of that goes in. It's those little things that we need to go for us. I think if that goes in, that's where that belief and that energy comes back. So even in the Lincoln game, we had some chances to score. I'm not saying, of course, it wouldn't have changed the result, but those are the little things that aren't quite going for us in those two games. Those things start going for you. You soon see confidence, belief, do you know what I mean, the mentality coming back. So it's quite natural as players, even though it can seem from the terraces it's about application, it's not. It's actually just a lot of these situations is about what's going on up here rather than actually what's going on down there. And it's my job to try and lend my experience to the players to help them. Do you know what I mean? To understand, okay, let's put some strategies in place. If we go a goal behind, what are we going to do? You know, are we going to think like this or are we going to think like this? So it's been a short period of time. I've seen a lot now and Grass, I'm really happy for this period to get to work with them now. And maybe we'll have a good review of these last 3 games and things that we can do better, but also from a mental point of view, I think there's some good things I can help them with to maybe give them some strategies individually and as a team to try and help them cope in certain situations which we probably haven't done well enough in the last 2 games.
Thanks very much, Gary. Who wants to ask the next question? Gentleman over here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Okay. My name's Anthony. I'm a member of CFU. Good evening. Gary, it's fair to say that I'm sure we've all seen recent interviews from you, and I have to be honest with you, I'm not inspired. It's not so much...
Come on, what?
I'm not, because you seem to be downbeat all the time.
Really?
In the way you're speaking, the way you sit. You know, I know sometimes you might be looking down at a TV screen.
Yes, there is a Zoom going on.
But I just wonder what your style of management is, because when you conceded 10 goals in 2 games,
Yeah.
we're not defending, and we're defending very badly. Whether that's just individual mistakes, it must take the wind out of your sails. And in your own words, how do you reassess? Or we need to reassess. We hear that a lot, but what's your plan now? Because with 8 games left, I just wonder, no disrespect, I want a successful Gary Monk side, I know we all do, but it must have knocked you back a bit.
No, I've been in football long enough, experienced many things, not, if I'm honest with you, to think like that. You know, I spent my whole life having to win. So I mean, that's my mentality. My mentality is to win.
Well,
So, I mean,
that's-
so when we don't win, there's probably no one that will take it harder than me. But inspiring, I don't agree with that, but that's fair enough. That's your opinion. You know, I have to be positive with the players. You know, I'm not going to kill them because they've lost the game or because of performance. We're in a situation where, like I mentioned before, they need to feel confidence. Do you know what I mean? And I like to think that I'm the type that will, under extreme pressures at the time, you know, you have to deal with it with a certain calmness. You know, of course, there's an inner steel, and you have to put that across the players. But there has to be calmness as well. You can't be in this situation and be tearing strips off players left, right, and centre. It just doesn't work. And I've been on both sides of that. I've been a player in those situations and also been a coach in those situations. So it's using that experience to
Well,
make sure.
Like I said, sir, there's no disrespect to this, but it does seem on the pitch at least, the players aren't with you.
It's a bit harsh. I've been in here for 10 days.
No, but...
It's like, no, look, it's a bit, look.
I mean, to be honest with you, you haven't been here 5 seconds, right? But you've had control of the game. And those players from Carlisle and Shrewsbury and even Exeter away, 0-0, they've changed. Something's happened. I know Harris leaving left a big hole, and we're lucky, as somebody has already said, that we're lucky to have you on board. And we do want a successful Monk team, but there's something gone wrong in the dressing room, I think. And I know you're going to say the players are with you, and I'm sure they are. But there's something wrong, and nobody's saying anything.
Look, you have your opinion, and that's fair, you know, like any
Is that
opinion
you
you have.
taking it off
But,
me now, is it?
no, it's okay, you can talk. No, look, I respect your opinion. I don't agree with it at all.
No.
You know, I don't agree with anything you've just said.
Right.
But in terms of like what we're doing and what we're going to try and do. Yeah, the words are words, actions are actions. So of course you're going to judge it off the actions that you see on the pitch in these last 2 games. I get it. Totally. It's my job to make sure that in the next 8 games that we have left, that I prove your opinion wrong. I can promise you that I'll be doing everything I can to make sure that your opinion's wrong.
I hope you do. I really do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony, for that. Thanks, Gary. Paul, next.
Hi. Old chestnut really, but youth team. Fantastic youth team last year. Played at Arsenal. I don't know whether you're aware of how well we did and how well they played. We've seen O'Connell play this season. Can't think of many other youth team players we've seen in the first team. And I know you need to protect these youngsters, but you know what? McConnell didn't do anything wrong when he played those 2 or 3 second half games that he played. And I really do feel that they need another chance. At least 1 or 2 of them. Especially, give Hoddle a go in midfield. Can't do any worse than, well, I'm not going to say it, but he can't do any worse than the midfield anyway.
No, that's fair. And just on those 2 lads there, they're both injured at the moment. So McConnell's injured. He's been injured for a while. And Hodds has been, my first week I was here, training with me, I was having a good look at him. He unfortunately picked up a little bit of a thigh strain, but should be back pretty quickly. But yeah, I'm a big advocate of that. If you look at my track record with every club I've ever been at, in terms of using young players, that's a big attraction for me. I want to work with young players, especially club developed players. And I know we have a few that the club rate very highly. Those 2 are part of that. And of course, I've only been in here a short time, so my job is to assess them, is to work with them, but also, unfortunately, those 2 are injured at this moment in time.
Yeah.
But it's to make sure that I give those type of players an opportunity for sure. And I've always been one. I don't care how young you are. If I feel that you're good enough and you're ready enough, you'll play. And I've done that at every single club I've ever been at. So that'll be no different here. So no, I'm looking forward to working with those guys. And I said when those Hodds has already been training with us. Unfortunately, just picked up a little bit of a strain. We've got a few others. Mamadou is going to be coming back and be working with him. So the potential is great, and I love what the club do. They obviously up to that 18s is through the academy, and then after that, the graduates off that are put straight into the loans. Getting experience of senior football. I think that's fantastic. I think there's a lot of clubs that could follow suit. I think that's the best way to develop players, not just to be stuck in a under 21s league and playing against fellow 21 players. You need to go out there and experience senior football as early as you can. So I think the club do great at that. I think that's fantastic. And yeah, I can only say that, of course, they're in my mind. They're working with me if they're available. I've only been a short time. But yeah, if I can use them now, I will. I've got no qualms with that whatsoever. But also for the future, I think that's a huge thing to have, and will definitely be part of my plans for sure.
Thanks very much for that. Who's got the next question? At the back here.
Hi there. You mentioned earlier about the brief when you came in it. Are you able to outline any, I don't know, what your brief was in any way?
Of course, the short-term brief is to get the team and the club across the line. We want to remain a League One club.
Yeah. No, I thought you would say that. In some sense, it is a silly question, but I just wondered if there was any more to it than that, any more long-term.
Yeah, no, of course. And the short term is that, but then the bit that, of course, really appealed to me is just the way that the club is set up and is ready to progress. That's the carrot, isn't it? What's beyond this season. I think the way that the guys at the club and obviously speaking to the owner and the owners, the directors and everything like that, I just think there's an ambitious group there. But what comes with ambition is also, what I really liked was there's a realistic view of how to do that. I've been at clubs that, yes, they can say we're ambitious, but doing it in a really silly way, and ending up in big trouble. So what I liked about the club is they're ambitious, they want to be progressive. I think you can see that from the infrastructure that's being put in place. I think that's fantastic. I think that's going to stand the club in great stead, not just for now, but for the whole future. And then, you know, a chance to be a part of that is what really appealed. So yes, the remit is what I need to do right now to get us across the line this season. But then the real carrot was, you know, what goes beyond this. I think it's fantastic. You've seen the training ground, what everyone's at the club is trying to do from a commercial point of view to help the club, to help the supporters experience and everything like that. I think that's fantastic, and to be part of that and then try and put something on the pitch that can match that progressiveness and is what I'm here for. That's what appealed. So I'm determined to get this short-term bit right now, and then, you know, really be part of that future. That's something that excites me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
We've got two questions in the middle first. I'll come to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm David. I'll leave Gary alone for a couple of minutes. And there has been, in those two poor results, there has been some good play. And I think less of that long ball up front, taking a chance it might land on one of our players' heads. I think there has been some good signs, just awful results. Maybe a question for Alex. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. And it is about this Stevenage match. I was there and I was on the wrong side of the stand where all the problems were. And I know that Stevenage's, their situation, well, they claim that it was the Cambridge fans. I know for a fact that the Stevenage fans were the ones throwing all the bottles of the coins.
Rocks.
The rocks, yeah, that's, well, rocks were, yeah. And I'd actually just got missed by a bottle and a coin or a rock. And seeing that young lad, the Cambridge fan, getting dragged across in a headlock in front of the Cambridge fans, right towards the corner of the Stevenage fans where they were. And that's what started, you know, when the Cambridge fans got a bit upset with security, that's when the Stevenage missiles came flying over. Obviously some went back with them, but I thought it was deplorable on both sides, but the biggest intimidation was by the Stevenage fans. And I want to know what the fallout has been from that.
Well, the first fallout was a very interrupted manager process. Certainly the time of it wasn't great. I was dealing with that whilst we were trying to bring the manager in. So what's happened so far is twofold, really. The first thing, thank you to CUSP. I know some of the CUSP members are in here tonight. They were really good in collating all the information for us. When these kind of things happen, there's always a lot of noise and lots of accounts, but they were really, really good at bringing that all together. From a club perspective, we have had a FA investigation into our fans' behaviour, which we can come on to in a moment. But in terms of the safety issues that we witnessed, so that was not just this game, but the first game, because I appreciate there were some things that happened there. The delay of getting into the stadium for this fixture, plus the events that we probably witnessed in the first half from the Stevenage supporters. We've collated all of that, all the videos, images, all kinds of different evidence. That's all gone across to Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire Police. Hertfordshire Police have got an open inquiry going on. And then what we've also done is liaised with the Football League, the FA and the Sports Grounds Safety Authority. So the Sports Grounds Safety Authority are the ones that grant the licence to open the stadium, and they're really the gatekeepers. So they've also reached out to us. We've also sent everything to Stevenage, and we've been promised a response back once they've finished their investigations. That's as much as I can sort of say for the moment, but rest assured everyone that's written in, it's all gone across to the right and relevant authorities. From our perspective, we've had to answer to an FA investigation. That's still ongoing, and that relates to the throwing of the pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
Irrespective of how we got to that point at the start of the second half, some of the behaviour we witnessed from our fans is unacceptable, and we're dealing with that. So we've got 2 individuals that are under investigation from the police, and then linked to that there's a further 2 individuals that are under investigation from the Northampton game for the pyrotechnics. So rest assured, all 4 of those individuals currently can't come in the stadium, and if they're proven guilty, which I suspect they will be, they'll face quite lengthy bans as well. So don't condone it at all. Probably can't say too much more about the Stevenage piece for now, but rest assured it's been dealt with as it needed to.
Yeah, I was actually at the first fixture, standing outside waiting to go in, and the police were absolutely toothless. They allowed the Stevenage fans to come round at the away end and start intimidating the Cambridge fans, throwing beer and bottles then, you know. And the policing was awful, and we know that I think the whole of Hertfordshire turned up the police force in Hertfordshire turned up to sort it out, but it was pretty deplorable, I must admit. And I've always enjoyed going to Steams. I've always enjoyed going for a pint down our mutual friend, mixing with the fans, but I probably won't go to Steams again. I actually left just before the end of the game to get out safely.
It probably maybe underlines some of the reasons we have to do certain things. So, searching has been a hot topic at times, but also levels of stewarding, levels of policing. I think we handled the Peterborough game really well this year. It was handled quite well last year as well here. But often maybe that gives you a reason and justification as to why we do what we do sometimes, and if you don't, it can go very, very wrong. So, we'll focus on what we need to do here, but we will release something quick to get it back from Stevens and the FA.
Okay, thanks, Alex.
Thanks very much.
You had a question here, sir.
Stuart, I went to the last 2 away games, and I think you're right, there was some good spells, and I think a bit of luck as well. We could have put the ball in the net. I just wondered, how worried was you about goal difference towards the end of the season? And out of the 8 games, is there any games you target to possibly get a win?
Yeah, no, look, you might just think it's coach speech or whatever you want to call it. Like, my mentality is to try, I want to win every game. That's my mentality. But I know football doesn't work like that as well. But I think there's obvious ones. I think at home, the home games, the pitch, the tightness, the crowd. Do you know what I mean? This stadium, there's not a lot of stadiums like this anymore. You know what I mean? These stadiums can play a big advantage for us. Do you know what I mean? So of course the home games, I think, I saw enough in that first game against Northampton, and of course I've seen the games before and stuff like that. So of course you're gonna target them. But honestly, I just try and target every game, and like some things happen. You're right. In the last 2 games, it's just when we have had some good spells. Do you know what I mean? Or had certain situations, you need to capitalise on them. That's how football works. Like I said, the prime example is Reading. Yeah, we're 2-0 down at half time. We come out really well. We go on the front foot and aggressive. We create really those opportunities straight away from catcher's header. And then the rebound, which is an open goal, then it gets square back and we miss the target. That goes in, that just changes the whole complex. I'm not saying that means then you're going to win, we'll never know. But it's those type of situations that we need to capitalise on. And of course we need to, just eradicate, some of those goals in those 2 games. The decision making that has gone before that is what's cost us. Do you know what I mean? So we need to try and it won't always be like that. We won't always be going into every game and we make 3 or 4 bad decisions, human error in that sense. That won't happen in every single game from here to the end of the season. So there'll be situations where we're being within the game in terms of a certain situation. If we can capitalise and things turn quickly, that's how football works. Like I said before, when we're doing really, really good, we're not as good as we actually are. But perception is we feel like that, and then when it's really bad, we think everything's the worst thing ever. Where the reality is you're actually not that bad. But results change our perception because that's the emotion. That's what that comes with us, doesn't it? That's how we feel. But I see more than enough in them, and it's my job to get it out of them. Of course it is, and I take full responsibility for that. In the last 2 games, I haven't got enough out of them for whatever reasons. My job now is to make sure that I do in these remaining 8 games, and I'm more than confident that we'll get the right results and get enough points to get where we want to be. I truly believe that. It's not just me saying it. That's what I believe. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's on me to make sure that I pick the right teams for these 8 games. There's a lot of games coming up, so like we talked about squad selection and maybe some different combinations and things like that. They need to be ready, need to be fresh. It's my job to get them ready. And of course, when they cross that line, it's down to the players to go and deliver, but it's my job as well to make sure that they're in a position to deliver. So I'm looking forward to it, these last 8 games, if I'm honest with you. I'm looking forward to these next 10 days to really work with the players. But I kind of relish these situations. I feel like I've spent a lot of my career in adversity, so it's nothing new to me. It's just like I kind of look at those situations as that's when it's your chance to be remembered. Do you know what I mean? It's your chance to be remembered for turning something that maybe isn't so good into something that people remember as in like, okay, you've turned it around, you've done something good there. Can you now kick on after that? That's kind of where that's where my motivation comes from, and it's to put that to the players as well. Yeah.
All right, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Over here.
Can I just say something just before we take the next question, just to pick up on what Gary said, but just to sort of pick up on gentlemen here and just say thank you really on behalf of the board and everyone at the club for the amazing support that we've had for the team, both home and away. I mean, evidenced by you travelling to Lincoln and to Reading. I know a lot of other people spending a lot of money and travelling. I know it's been a tough week, but I think one thing that we all know from following this football club is that we've had tough times and we've got through them by sticking together and from being united in endeavour. I mean, we're very pleased that we've got Gary here at the football club. I think we've got a team that has and has shown to have real ability, and we're very we're well up for the battle over the next 8 games. I know the fans are going to play a very important part in helping us get over the line. So anyway, I just thought I'd say that.
Okay. Hi there, fellas. Welcome to the club, Gary. I understand you're actually fairly local to the area, and I was just sort of wondering how much you knew about the club before you came. Anything that surprised you, sort of good or bad?
I've had a good couple of battles out there, position, unfortunately, when I was at Swansea and stuff like that. So, yeah, I was born in Bedford. I lived there till I was 6, and then the family moved down to the mean streets of Torquay. Yeah, that's where I obviously grew up, and from there. But yeah, I was born in Bedford. But no, of course I know. I'm English and grew up watching football, and do you know what I mean? I've played in every single league throughout my career. So yeah, these leagues were kind of where I learnt my trade. Do you know what I mean? And then luckily enough in my career, I ended up playing at high levels and stuff like that, and obviously coaching at high levels. But it's been my whole life. Do you know what I mean? Same as all of you here. Do you know what I mean? Following your teams and looking at the leagues and seeing different oppositions, watching games and stuff like that. So yeah, of course I know full well about Cambridge and every other team. I've played against all of them and seen them, and part of my role now as a coach is to analyse teams. Even in the period that I've just had out, part of that was analysing leagues. I've analysed League One, League Two, National League, teams abroad. That's part of my job. Do you know what I mean? And I'm that type of person anyway. I want to know what teams are doing and how they do things. So, and obviously then when the opportunity came up with Cambridge, obviously you go a bit more in depth with that analysis and looking at the squad and what you need to do in the short term, and then seeing what the club wanted to do after that as well. I was just chomping at the bit, if I'm honest with you. And it's the right environment for me. I know that, and that's why I'm determined to get this bit right. I know it hasn't been as good as I would have liked, or gone anywhere near what I would have liked in the last 2 games, but that doesn't deter me. I don't get swayed by that. It's just that I focus on what's ahead of me, and we've got 8 games to get it right. Do you know what I mean? And get as much as we can out of those 8 games, and I'm sure that we're going to see that.
Yeah, well, we're all with you, Gary.
No, I appreciate that.
We've not been here very long, and I'm sure we can.
Pass the microphone to Andy.
Good evening, my name's Andy Luff. I've been following Cambridge since my teens, back in the late 1970s. So when people say things like, this is the worst team I've ever seen, no, believe me. But actually what I wanted to ask about, if you don't mind, was about the stadium redevelopment, which I think is just really crucial for the future of the club, because pretty much every ground that we go to, when we go to away games, we think, oh, why can't the Abbey be like this? Because it's been such a long time since anything was really done to the ground. So firstly, I was wondering when we might actually get to see the plans. Secondly, I wonder what your sort of strategy is for getting through the whole awful planning permission hiatus that will no doubt follow on from the release of the plans. Thirdly, I wonder what are the arrangements for actually financing the new stands, if indeed we're able to get through this process.
Thanks, Andy. I'll kick off and then pass to Alex. I should probably say I've been watching Cambridge from the late 70s as well. Know the NRE and other parts of the ground like the back of my hand. I think in terms of the stadium, I think it should be seen in the context of what we're trying to do as a club as a whole, which is to grow and develop and to be ambitious and progressive, and to try and do as much as we can for the city of Cambridge as a football club within it, but at the same time to do it in a sustainable way. And we know how important, many people here did a huge amount during the very difficult times in the noughties when the ground was sold. The fact that we now
Speak
own.
up a bit, please.
Sorry, is that better?
That's best.
I know many people here at the Supporters Club did a huge amount in the noughties when the ground was sold, and we all know how special it is that we now own the Abbey as a football club, and to have an owner, the majority owner, who is the biggest fan of the football club that I think any football club could want, and without whom I don't think there would be a Cambridge United. I think to have him at the helm, supported by Mark and Adam, is a real opportunity for us. And he is very, very committed to making sure that we grow and develop the Abbey in a way that protects what is unique about the Abbey. Because I think as Gary's just said, there aren't many stadia like this. I think we've had many false dawns where we've looked at, could we relocate the club here and there? They haven't happened for different reasons. But we're at the Abbey, we want to develop the Abbey, we want to do it in a way that protects the heritage of the Abbey, but has a modern stadium that allows the club to grow. So a big part of that, I think, is having a stadium that isn't just a place where we put on a game, twice a week maximum, but is a place where we can actually have a revenue generating 24/7 stadium that can then help contribute to the the flow of cash, which can then be reinvested onto the pitch. So that's the sort of the philosophy, to do it in a way that allows the club to grow, but also to do it in a way that makes sure that we are interfacing with the right people in the city to make that process as smooth as possible. And I do think we are probably at a better place now in terms of relationships with the city council, with the university, with the different partners who can hopefully give their support to this if it's done in the right way. I mean, planning is never easy. It's never easy in Cambridge. I think we all know that. But we've had Mike Davey, the leader of the council, Rob Pollock, were both at the Peterborough game with us. There's an awful lot of support and recognition of the good that comes from this football club through the foundation and from what we're doing. And people want the football club to succeed and to grow. So in terms of where we are, I'll pass over to Alex in a minute on the detail. It's taken a bit longer to put plans out than we would have liked. I think we wanted to do that earlier this year. It'll now be the summer, but I think we wanted to take a little bit more time to get it right and to make sure that whatever we put out has the best chance of success. So I think you can expect something this summer, and then for a planning application, hopefully to go in fairly quickly after that. In terms of the funding, I think that is something that our owners are looking at the moment, but take it as read, we're obviously not going to head down a route that is either unfunded or in any way puts the football club at risk. So the one thing you know about Paul and Mark and Adam is that they are passionate football fans of this club. I mean, Mark and Adam, who've only become part of the family in recent years, are huge fans of Cambridge United. They have a house here. They'll only do something that they think is in the interest of the club and doesn't jeopardise the future of the club, but they're ambitious for Cambridge United and want it to grow and see a stadium that can hopefully house 12,000 people as critical to that. So that's where we are. Alex, any?
Sorry, can I just say something? You just mentioned about the town. I think you'll find that Dave Doggett was the first person that unified the town of Cambridge and the people over at Cheston with this club. It wasn't the board that is sitting here now. He's the person who went out there and spoke to the town. I think you knew about it, and unfortunately there were certain things that happened to Dave Doggett that I won't mention that crucified it. I've been here 80 years, and this is my 80th year of this club, and I think there's a lot that has gone on in the past, i.e. the purchase of the ground. That could have been bought by the club, but it went wrong. You know, Dave Doggett, Terry Baker and two others were prepared to put their hands in their pockets, but unfortunately, and after the event, Paul Barry phoned me up and said if I'd have known about it, I'd have put $500,000. And I said, well, if you'd have spoke up, we would have owned the club 20 weeks ago.
I mean, I don't know all the history of everything that's happened in the past, Colin. What I would say is I know that Dave and countless other people have done a huge amount, and you included, and a lot of people.
Yeah, and cleared the debt of the club.
You know, for the football club, and no one.
He cleared the debt of
But
this
I mean,
football club.
do not take anything that I just said in any way, shape, or form to be disrespectful of any contribution that anybody has made. So
You're not that type of person.
No. The only point I was making is that I think we have at the moment, building on the many foundations that people have put in place, strong relationships across the city that I think can hopefully serve us well over this, what will be a difficult period when any football club, any organisation is seeking planning permission for something. So that's the only point I was making. I wasn't in any way, shape or form trying to denigrate anything that anyone has done. You know, I know for a fact just how hard everyone has worked. And it's one of the points I made at the beginning. I don't think the football club will be in the position it's in at the moment had it not been for a huge amount of effort, you know, through CFU, and I was a founding member of CFU at the very beginning, in terms of helping to save the club. So I totally respect that.
Do you want to pass on to Alex, because we're going to need to wind it up in a minute.
So just quickly on the planning application, it's a 6 to 8 month process. It's a significant amount of money just to take it to planning. So it's north of £500,000. It's a big team of people, and we've had several calls already with the planning department, city council. There's probably 4 big headlines, probably keeping us awake at night. Certainly me. So the first one is ecology, because of where we are in relation to Coleman's Common, how we interact with that, and the studies we need to do. The second one is transport. I think you're all aware that transport on a match day is a taxing issue as the crowds are getting bigger and bigger. We'd like to get close to 12,000 when we redevelop, so 3,500 seats in the Habin, circa 4,000 terrace NRE, which will go to safe standing. So transport's a big one. We've been engaging with GCP, so Newmarket Road is going to have a 3-year renovation. That in itself will be a challenge. It's going to be a year on this section outside here when it takes place, probably 2026. And Park and Ride is also moving a mile out of the city, so that presents a challenge. So ecology, transport. Second one is design, so what it looks like. We've been told it needs to look like a Cambridge design. I'm still trying to find the design manual for that, but apparently there are architects that will know what that means. And then I suppose the fourth one is about the community. It's about what we can give back, whether that's education, whether that's health. How do we turn the Abbey into a community hub? So the supporters club is key to that. When the new one is built, which will be at the front of Newmarket Road, it needs to be a venue that's accessible 9 AM to 11 PM for all different demographics of the local ward. We know that. We know there's a real need for it. It needs to link in with the foundation, but also the spaces that we build inside the stand need to give back to the community, and the council have been really clear on that. So there's lots of different parts we need to bring together. There's lots and lots of different stakeholders. Right now, we know how we can get people in and out in the footprint. We know how many seats we can get in. We know how many places on the terrace. We know how big the lounges can be. But it's just about filling out the next bits, and then also the business plan.
Sorry, I have a pertinent point. When you specifically design the Habin, would you take into account the fact that the pitch is so small? I know you might not want to increase the size of the pitch, but when you go to some of these other grounds that we play at, they've got large pitches. Now, you won't have that option if you design the footprint of that stand where it is at the moment. And you should really give the option to make a bigger pitch.
Yeah, so the pitch out there can still come up quite a bit. So you need a 2 metre runoff between the edge of the stand and the pitch. So the trackway that you've seen, the gravel trackway, that gives quite a lot of space. So I think it was Bonds that had us move it in.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I don't know if anyone saw the Colchester pitch at the weekend. Anyone see that? They've actually had to move theirs in because of their water table. But we're going to move the pitch towards the south stand. That will happen quite quickly. We're also looking at, for next season, what we do with away fans. We're having a little look at that at the moment. We know we need to get the stadium ready. We just put in a planning application for a new temporary club shop and ticket office, which will go on the 50 site. So there's lots of things that are going on in the background ready to get ready for the redevelopment. But I think we're probably, as Godric said, a good probably 6 to 9 months till we can put in for planning. In terms of getting the designs out, I suspect we're close to sort of 5 to 6 months.
Thanks very much, Alex. I've got a question in the middle here, just a quick one before we wind up.
Just a quick one. You've only got 7 matches, not 8, because last season it went down to the last match of the season. And the reason we got rid of Bonnet is we don't want it to go down to the last match of the season. Sorry, and very quickly, we had a goal machine last year at the end that came in called Harrison Dunk. He scored 2 very important goals. What happened to him?
So he's injured. Unfortunately, yeah, there's been quite a few injuries. Like I said,
He must recover.
yeah, I would like him to recover a little bit quicker as well. But no, there's a few that, like I said, Gasson, Fajiri, Gibbs had to have a scan in my first week, so he wasn't available in the first weeks, but he's obviously back training. So yeah, of course, the more we can get back from, there's been quite a few long-term injuries, which is unfortunate. So we have been quite thin on the ground in that sense, but having those 2 or 3 back already, and the young lads were with us until last week, odds and that, until they've picked up. But that's normal for young lads. Do you know what I mean? When you're stepping up into first team football and the intensity is a little bit higher, it's normal for them to pick up the little strains here and there. But yeah, the more that we can get back, the better. Obviously, it's going to give us more options in this running, and they're going to be needed.
Just going to bring one question in from Matthew, who asks this via email, I think, because it's something we haven't covered this evening. Matthew's got a question about the move to change the club badge, and his view is that it won't make any difference to investment or sponsorship, etc. But we all know it's not as simple as that. Can you just comment, maybe Alex and/or Godric? What is the purpose of looking to change the club badge, and how will it benefit the club in the long run?
I think probably got to look at where the club is. So we are in a league where the top budget in this league is probably 4, if not 5 times where we are. We're not the lowest. We have to make the most of every single asset part of the club we have. So that is the stadium, which we've just spoken about. There's the commercial streams, there's the match day revenue streams. But we also look into the future. So if we're going to build a stadium for 12,000 people, how do we fill it? And that work on doing that has started. It started a couple of years ago. We've seen the crowds increase. We're about to bring in a full-time person to help us take it even further. In terms of the brand, the image, the crest, we know it's a really delicate thing. It's probably one of the hardest things you can do in a football club. It's very emotive. Design in itself, when the kits come out every year, it's always very subjective. The kits are rubbish. That's why we always let Gareth do the kits, so if anyone wants to complain. We know we can't stand still. If we stand still, we go backwards. You just need to look around. Wrexham, Stockport, all of these clubs, they're all progressing, they're all developing. And the owners firmly believe that there's a need to just modernise, take things forward slightly. It's not just all about commercial. It's also about how we connect with the city, how we connect with the wider county of Cambridgeshire. And we're going to be coming out with some stuff probably at the end of the season. Right now, our focus has to be on making sure we get over the line and supporting Gary and the team. But we'll be coming out. We've got a lot of consultation stuff. We know where we landed wasn't quite right. We know the process wasn't quite right. And I think, to be fair to the owners of the board, they held their hands up and said, yeah, we're not where we need to be. They didn't force through something. And we'll be coming out with the next step of the process and how we take things forward.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Well, we are past time, so I'm going to try and bring it to an end, unless there are or is any one quick question at the end. Gary? Oh,
I have one.
you have one? Okay, lady here, and then Gary, and then we'll close it.
Right. When we had the academy, we've still got the academy, there was always the fuss that we never got higher grading because of our facilities. What's the case now? Where have the facilities improved?
So we're a Cat 3 academy. The big stumbling block to go to Cat 2 is an inside dome, which is obviously a significant investment. We'd also need the land for it and the relevant lighting. So one of the biggest challenges we've got at the moment is, whilst we've got a fantastic facility for the first team and the under-18s, we haven't got a single facility which our 9s to 16s can play on. So at the minute they're split up over 2 or 3 different sites. We're in the process of trying to get them all onto one site. That's the first objective. And then how we move to Cat 2 is that investment into the dome. right here, right now, it's probably a step that's sort of 3 to 5 years away. We need to focus on the stadium and the other revenue streams before we go any further.
Just a quick one, gentlemen. I wondered if you could explain to us.
Thank you. Do you want to explain to us the club's thinking about, we know that modern management these days tends to be in teams, 2, even 3 coaching staff members. And we've seen the club go away from that, so that anybody that comes for the job appears to have to take on those already in place. Are we following somebody else's model, Brighton, Brentford or somebody? Is there another club at our level that does something similar that's been successful?
I don't think there's any particular blueprint that we're following. I think if you're referring to the coaching staff that we have at the moment and the continuity, when in the circumstances when Neil went, we felt it was very important that the coaching staff, when Neil came in, we felt it was very important that the coaching staff that were here stayed to give some continuity. And I think you can see the importance of that, given what obviously unfolded that nobody really could have predicted 12 games later. I think at the moment, everybody is just head down, focusing on, let's get over the line at the end of this season. But, we think we've got talented coaching staff who are a great support to the club. I think the way they conduct themselves, the way they represent the club is first class, and I think we're fortunate to have them. But as I say, there's no particular model that we're following here beyond trying to get the best people we can to work in the jobs that we've got.
That's lovely. Thanks very much for that. And I'm going to bring it to a close now. Can I just first of all thank you all for coming and for asking your questions. I think there have been some really good questions tonight, and that's why I've let it run on just a little bit. So I hope CFU are okay with that. Before we close, I just want to thank our panellists, Godric, Alex and Gary. Thank them all for coming and for answering your questions candidly and in the spirit with which the evening has been conducted. So can I ask you to put your hands together for our panellists? And as they've all said, we are all in this together, and so let's just stick together for those remaining games. And I'm sure that when we come together next season in this very room, we will reflect, and all will be well. Thanks very much, and from me, it's good night.
The business agenda is quite short, you'll be pleased to hear, but we are legally obliged to go through it. I believe we have apologies for absence, but I'm not sure how many.
Emma Smith.
Emma Smith is the official apology for absence. And Gina. There may be others. We'll include those in the minutes of this meeting. It's easier, I think. The minutes of our last AGM have been public for some time. I haven't seen any proposed alterations to those, so I'm assuming that we can accept last year's minutes as read. Any dissenters anywhere? No, that's good. That's unusual. Right, well that brings me to the CFU annual report, which is me. And I've tried very hard to make it short, which I'm sure will please most of you. So I thought I'd like to start, really before talking about what we've done this year, by remembering those CFU members and fans who've died since we last met. And sadly we have a number of names to mention this time. Our own Robert Osborne, of course, Jonathan Perroton, Vernon alias Perry Childs, Brian Mansfield, who very shockingly died in February, having had a wonderful time at a seniors lunch, an event I can warmly recommend. And very sadly, only last week, Verity Granger, the daughter of the Pearsons, a death which has hit the CFU committee very hard, as these tragedies always do. Anyhow, this will be my last AGM as chairman, and I believe...
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
Can I just add one more name to that list?
Yes, please do.
And although subsidy had lapsed, my wife Dorothy Gilbert, who used to work in the players' car park alongside me, died last June of cancer.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, and we'll of course add it to the names as well. My condolences.
Thank you.
So, as I was saying, this will be my last AGM as chairman. I did hear somebody say good at the back there. A bit sad. But I think on the whole it's been an eventful year. It began very well with us making a substantial donation to the Newmarket Road End fan zone. I think that's a facility that was needed many years before we managed to put it together. But it's benefited our more vociferous fans, and I have heard some people say it's made them even louder than they were before. So it's a good job well done, that. Shortly after that, we had our first walk in memory of Robert Osborne from the training ground to the Abbey, which raised money for the British Heart Foundation and raised awareness as well, which I think in many ways is just as important. We hope to make this an annual event. Robert would have been very pleased, I think, about that, and I know that his family were. We also had a bucket collection during the home game against Orient for MNGIE, which is a terrible disease, incurable disease, which we need to raise awareness about and raise funding for. I think we made about £1,200 on the bucket collection, and I think we need to bend our minds to how we might raise more funds and continue to raise awareness as much as we possibly can. We help to find collectors for the Poppy Appeal. There are always plenty of them, but organising them is not an easy task. Building on Terry Wilby's entrepreneurial skills and his skill as a fashion designer, and using Ben Payne's design, we made a profit on some very desirable merchandise. You'll notice I'm wearing some at the moment, which one of our American owners commissioned, I believe, from Terry, having seen it in the Amber News. So we are very happy to listen to requests for merchandise design, and Terry's actually getting very good at it. It's a lot better than some official merchandise, in my opinion, but I shouldn't say that. We paid for some flags, which the Cambridge Aces asked us to create atmosphere in one of our more important home games. And following that very important home games, we also managed to put together some mugs commemorating a victory over a certain local rivalry. I think it was somebody called Peter, where was it? It wasn't them. Oh, well, whatever they're called. Anyway, they came here expecting to wipe the floor with us, and actually they didn't. It was more the other way around. It's one of our nicer moments last season. We presented a signed shirt to Colin Proctor. Everybody knows Colin Proctor, and everybody knows of his years of devoted service to the club and to CFU. So it's a very nice thing for us to be able to do that. We did that at a seniors lunch where Colin has been one of the main organisers and one of the main helpers for years and years and years, ever since I was a young man, in fact. We released a statement congratulating Dave Matthew Jones on his appointment as President for Life. That's President of the club, by the way, not President of the country. We released another series of statements about the badge and a number of other issues where we felt it was important that people knew what the CFU stance was. We are, as you know, a fully independent organisation. We have our own funds, we have a proper membership, and in that regard we are different from every other fan organisation supporting Cambridge. I make that claim with no fear of contradiction Thank you. We conducted surveys about the badge and about the fan zone, so we think we know what we're talking about in regard to those. We've had some excellent press and radio coverage. A lot of the radio and media coverage is down to Anuska, who's become quite expert now and quite the public figure. I used to do a little bit of it, but no longer necessary, so that's great. We have participated in the shadow board. 3 of us on the CFU committee are also members of the shadow board, although not directly elected by CFU, and as such, of course, we're answerable to all of you. We've created and run a new Facebook group, which started very slowly, but is getting bigger and bigger now. It's quite lively, those of you who've never been on it. It's generally worth a look. And a new website. And I've discovered that 2 of the people on the CFU committee, whom I didn't realise had such vast technological expertise, have it. So I'm very impressed with the website. And the great thing about the website and the Facebook group is it keeps us in touch with all of you. Nobody has any excuse for not knowing what we're doing. And one of the things I've said about other organisations in the past is they're not always fully transparent. If they're not, you should always ask, why not? Our focus, like last year, has been on supporting the community and working to improve diversity and equality. I know those are just words to some people, but to us they matter very much. Football fans are coming from a lot of new sources now. They're coming in greater numbers. Everybody should feel safe, everybody should feel properly catered for, and everybody should feel welcome. That's one of our main goals, I think, as a fans group. The thing I hear about most, and I'm sure many of you will bear this out, is away travel. A service which enables many of our fans to attend away games who otherwise just wouldn't be able to. I don't normally single anybody out, and of course she's not here, so it doesn't matter anyway. But it would be remiss of me not to mention the incredible Gina and the work that she does for so many people who travel on those coaches. I think of them as Gina's coaches rather than anything else. And what a difference she's made to fans at this club. So I'm glad to be able to mention her by name, even though she'd kill me if she knew that I had. I'm very grateful to my fellow committee members who've made my job much easier than it would have been. In fact, it's almost been a pleasure. Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Elegance himself, Terry Wilby. Where are the others? He's wearing a money.
Membership. There we go. 348. Usually I'll stop there, but I'm going to add a little bit more detail. You can see the types of the different types of membership that we have: adult, young adult, OAP, and life membership. And you can see that life membership, 157. There's a good number of you that have paid up for life. It makes things easy for me. And if you look at your membership, you find it's not really life, but 2060 is around about the time when you'll have to renew. It won't be me that will be chasing at that stage. As I've said many times in the past, we struggle to attract younger fans, despite it's only £5 a year. If anybody has got any good ideas on how we can attract and retain youngsters, please do let us know, because I'm a bit of a block as to what we can do. As always, can you please keep your personal details up to date? If you receive the emails from me, you'll find there's a link at the top that takes you to that data that we have on you. You can change it as much as you like. Please don't delete it, because otherwise I won't know how to contact you. Similarly, email addresses. I know I've had to change my email address, and it's a real pain having to find all the people that have got my old email address and tell them my new one. CFU is the same. If I don't have your up-to-date email address, you won't get the emails from me, and you won't find out all the interesting things that I send out. Hopefully those who do see those emails think they are interested and read them, because otherwise I won't send them. Next one.
Thank you.
So, while we're on membership, I just thought it was useful to find out where people, apart from the UK fairly obviously, where they come from. And one of the things that's quite interesting is Norway. We've got 4 members in Norway. Next. There you go, there's 3 of them. They live right up in the north of Norway, as does the 4th guy. He lives very close to the Russian border. So I've been in contact with him about if there's any issues with him being so close to the Russian border, but he says it's all okay. Those 3 guys, Roger, Ole and Jens, it's quite interesting how they became Hughes fans. I have done a piece on the website about it. If you search for Vikings, you'll find out. They came across for their first game last year for the Peterborough game, sorry, the Pish game, and they had a wonderful day. They really enjoyed themselves. We enjoyed having them, and they are just one of the reasons why our club is so great. They chose us because they looked online and they saw a lot of things that they liked about the club. In particular, Ian Darla. That's why they were called the Darlerites, because they really came to see him. And they said, we've come to meet our hero. And they did, and there's plenty of photos of that as well. That's about all I have. Has anybody got any questions on membership? Marvellous. So while I'm up here, I thought I'd do a little bit on the M&Ms, membership and merchandise. So there you go.
Well,
So you'll notice that we do sell underpants. So, no. It's as Andrew said, the Great Escape mugs and T-shirts started it all, and along with the Pish mugs. And then I thought, well, using the company that we've got, we don't have to buy stock. We just have to do the designs. They host it on their website, and we get a small commission. So, no cost to us. So far, that people have helped me with designs. So, some of the things over there that we've got in the raffle are stuff that we sell. But if you do have any ideas of things that you think might sell, different items. Somebody not so long ago said they'd seen a wonderful beach towel of another club while they were on holiday. They gave me the manufacturer's name and details. I contacted them and they said, we do them already for your club, we don't want to infringe any copyright, which I can understand that. But the big kicker about it was that they needed something like 1,000 minimum order quantity at something like £20 a time, which is just too much for us to invest. I don't know if we could sell 100 beach towels, let alone 1,000. So that one didn't go anywhere, but if anybody does have any ideas of things they might like to see, then please do get in touch with us. So most of the sales are online, but if anybody does want to place an order, they can come and see me either tonight or on a match day in the cabin, and we'll see what we can do. I need your name, details, size, depends on what you're going to buy, and then you can come and collect it from the cabin a week or so later. Any questions on any of that? Marvellous. On to Mr. Moffat.
Can we just give Terry a vote of thanks for the emails? They're very regular and they're always informative. There's a lot on there, lots of links.
I told you somebody did read them.
Only one as far as I can tell.
Thank you for that. Okay, finance. This is the boring bit. Boring but very essential. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little bit blurred, isn't it? Yeah. Oh well. Right, I'll try my best. Okay. So, looking at starting off with the balance sheet for the year. That's unfortunately, it's a shame you can't see it, but there's a comparison there.
I'm here.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? That's it.
Yeah.
It's a shame you can't really see it, but there's a comparison there with the previous 2 years. Basically, the main highlights of this are there was a dip in capital and reserves for previous financial year, i.e. August 2023. Down from the previous year from 144,633,000 down to 99,000. I'll come on to the main reasons for that very shortly. Essentially, the good news is, the bottom line is that we're still solvent as an organisation. Cash at bank, we finished the year reasonably healthy position with £103,000 in cash in the bank. On to the next slide, please. This is the profit and loss report. Again, you can't really see very clearly what those figures are saying, so I'll try my best. Okay, so last year we turned over £97,824, and we spent, or the outgoings was £136,477, which ended with a loss of £38,000. Previous year was a gain of £20,000. Nothing to be too alarmed about with that. The reasons being is we had a healthy start to begin with in the previous financial year, and we donated and paid for quite a bit of items towards the club, and I'll come on to that again in a minute. Highlights of the turnover of where we got most of our money from. Lottery subscriptions was 42,000, and the away coach income was 45,000. And on the administrative costs, or the outgoings, the away coach was 42,500 costs, and the donations towards CFU equipment and various other items was £61,000. So going on to the detail of, on the next slide please. So this, believe it or not, just gives you the main highlights of what we actually donated and what we paid for this financial year, or that financial year. The biggest amount was £30,000, which CFU donated towards the fan zone, and there was another £20,000 donated through the lottery towards the fan zone canopy. So there was £50,000 we put into the football club. So in all, £61,000 we spent. So that is the reason why we made a loss this year on trading. But you obviously have to bear in mind that we're not a profit-making organisation. As long as we've got the funds, it doesn't matter if we make a loss in a particular year, as long as we're not insolvent in doing so. I think, if there are any other questions? I'll read out the statement I have to read out at the end of the year. Bear with me a second. Right. It is hereby resolved that the subject of the provision of Section 4A of the 1968 Friendly and Industrial Accounts covering the current financial year on August 31st, 2024, when they are presented to the next AGM, the members of the Society agree that the accounts of the following year do not require full audit, provided that the independent examination is carried out in place of the full audit. The independent examination is carried out in line with the best practices, and a report from the independent examiner is included within the accounts and circulated online to members. Would you like to second that?
I will. It would be a terrible thing if I didn't, wouldn't it?
It doesn't have to be you, it can be anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Colin. And that's it. Who's next?
Leadership vote. Rank is second.
Is it oh, sorry. All those in favour? Yeah.
Any against?
Any against?
Any abstentions?
Any abstentions? No. Okay, thank you.
Actually, it's not me really. I just wanted to see if I could get the microphone to work better. Is that a bit better? No, it's just the same. Okay, well, never mind. Do we have a slide for the election of the trust board? Right, it's behind me. I don't plan to comment on that. From here, it looks more visible and more readable than the last few slides. So, are we happy with that? I don't need to say anything about that, do I? Okay. Oh yes, that's a great idea. It's not often these days we get new board members, but here we are. Would you like to just give your names?
Hi everybody, my name's Steve. I'm another child of the 70s since I've been supporting here, and have kind of refound my passion in the last few years with my 12-year-old daughter, who is an avid supporter now and won't get me out of the NRE. And I thought that seeing that she's so engaged, I should do something else beyond just turn up on a Saturday and bemoan and criticise as everybody does. So I'm here to do some positive work in support of the club. Thanks.
Well done.
It's Chris Casey. Since I've retired, I've now got the time to get here. I used to work effectively 7 days a week, so now I have the time for the past couple of seasons. Work as an Abbey helper as well, and just want to get involved and do whatever needs to be done for the club, help it go forward.
Well done. Always nice to welcome new members, so if anybody out there is feeling inspired, you know what to do.
We need to vote. Everybody's...
Right, Terry's reminding me of the rules. I'm not very good with rules, some of you will have noticed that. So, if we can accept all of that, all in favour please. Anyone against? And any abstentions? Didn't think there would be. Anyway, happy with that, Terry? Excellent, good. Now, Gina's not with us tonight, so I think what I would propose to... You want me to read it out? Okay, we can just put it on the minutes. I'm trying to speed it along as much as I can, anyway. Wasn't expecting this. Okay, this is for away travel, obviously. Our aim is to provide an alternative option for fans to travel to away matches. We've succeeded in running coaches to all away games so far this season, including Blackburn Rovers in the FA Cup. We've also provided additional coaches running at different times when there have been rail strikes. Our away match to Stevenage was called off while we were at the ground, and thanks to sponsorship, we were able to offer a £5 discount for the return trip in February to people who travelled the first time. We would like to place on record our grateful thanks to East Sussex U's, Worcester U's, and the CFU FC Lottery, a bit of a mouthful, for their continuing support again this season, and also to Andrew Harper Scott for his donation. Although there has been an increase in the costs of the coaches, with their support we've been able to keep prices the same as last season, with the exception of a handful of trips, and to run at break even. This season we've so far sold in excess of 1,500 seats. Our service caters for on average 10% of the away attendance. Thank you to all our passengers for using our services, and Grays of Ely for being so professional and flexible with our bookings. Thanks also go to Dave Matthew Jones, my sidekick, without whom this would be considerably more onerous, and to Richard Toombs, Carl Badcock, Anuska Wright, Alex Nix, Chris Casey, Kieran Sell and Tom Walker for their help with stewarding various coaches, ensuring our good service is maintained, and finally to Terry Wilby for helping me to take bookings on a match day. And thank you obviously to Gina as well, who I may have mentioned earlier. So thank you for that. Moving swiftly on, I notice on the agenda the next thing is the lottery part. Carl.
Good evening, everyone. I think most of you are aware who I am. My name's Carl Badcock. I'm on the trust board, but also one of the 7 members running the actual lottery. So I've got a report pulled together. A lot of the lottery members have seen a report which I've done for the annual report issued in January. This one is for the last 12 months, being to the end of February, which is tied up with what we're presenting now. So 2023 was a successful year. We've been very productive, building on what we've had a good relationship with the club. Alex Tunbridge is fully supportive. We've introduced, as you're aware, on a Wednesday, the match ball presentation. So we've got to draw every Wednesday now, as well as on a Monday and a Friday. So there's 6 opportunities to win each week, and people do win. The lottery is registered with Cambridge City Council. We've got Camelot numbers you can see up there. We renew it annually, and we also submit a monthly return. We've got 2 targets. What needs to be said as well is at the £2 a week, which people pay, £1 of it, 50%, goes into the distribution fund. So that for the 2 targets. The first target is enhancing the fans' experience at the Abbey. It included things like the scoreboards, which operate on match days as well. They cost us £13.5 grand. We've recently placed some other things, we'll come on to that. The second target, because we are effectively a charity, we've got to do charity work for the lottery. We'll support local charitable and community projects, and we'll come on to that as well. But in total, this year, well, the year just gone, the target's benefited by over, well, just under £40,000. That's what we paid out. So the achievements, Guide Dog Puppy sponsorship, the members voted for the name being Basil, cost us £250. We also supported the Cambridge United Foundation, the Christmas hamper appeal. We donated £200, which matched what Ian Darlett's Cambridge Charities fundraisers donated as well. We also done a small donation to East Barnwood Community Centre for their Christmas appeal. We sponsor the Hall of Fame. We also bought the memorial bench for Robert Osborne, our ex-colleague on CFU. And we're also sponsoring and sponsored the last 2 years Ian Darler's Cambridge Charity Fundraisers Inspiration of Young Stars Awards evening, which is a really big thing, which is matching what the national thing is, but it's for the local area. And this year's event is on Friday the 5th of July. And you can see on there, sorry, go that one. The total what we paid out to the charitable things was just over £2,000 as well. So with the distribution funds, which is obviously for the fans facing experience as well as the charitable side, it's enhancing the fans experience like I mentioned. We actually gave £30,000 towards the fan zones. Initially we gave £20,000, which was for the main stand and the South Habbin. We then gave a further £10,000 towards the NRE and the North Haven. We've also paid for self-stand shelving, because there wasn't anywhere for anyone to put food or drinks down. I know you could say, well, it's away fans, but the area is given up to home fans at least 4 times a year. We also gave money, bought the new Audio for All kit, which is a vast improvement, and not many clubs have actually got that facility at the moment, and it's expanded out throughout football leagues. We also bought a new digital desktop transmitter because the reception wasn't brilliant at the time, so we've enhanced that. When CFU paid their £30,000 for the NRE fan zone, we also paid for the wireless access point to go in there so the payment scanners would work. There's a NRE safety camera put in as well. There's the replacement laptop for the scoreboard system, which I mentioned earlier on, I operate on match days anyway. And we've recently bought the purple tabards, high-vis jackets for the Abbey helpers. So what we've actually paid out this year as well is just over £37,500. they're the fan zones and the Abbey eateries, because the club put most of the money towards those, and ours was a token gesture really. But I think you've all seen, most of you have probably seen what they are. So there's the tabards, there's the shelves, there's the guide dog. The second from top right is the East Barnwell Community Project. We also fitted the accessible seats, which are down the bottom, well, you can see at the bottom and top left. Paul's modelling the Here to Help tabard in the middle there. And the bottom right was the Christmas hamper appeal for the foundation. The top two pictures are the Young Stars Awards from last year. The memorial benches there, and the other photos are from the match ball presentations on, well, each league game they are. You can see on there that sometimes our members donate their prize because they don't want it or they're not around or available. So we've actually got there Tom's, the Edmonds Trust, which is for people who have got learning difficulties. So they come along and present the match ball. So prizes and draws. I must mention there's 3 weekly draws. The midweek one is during the football season only. Monday at the moment there's 4 lots of £100. We've only got 524 members, so you've got a good 1 in 140 chance of winning. Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of the month there's a signed shirt, third Wednesday of the month there's hospitality tickets for 2, and the other Wednesdays of the month is the match ball presentation with 2 tickets for the main stand as well to make sure people are in the right area. And on the Friday, the Abbey accumulator starts at £500, goes up £50 a week until 1, a maximum 2,500. And the reason why it's not 1 very often is because 524 members and there's 10,000 numbers. Someone won £1,100 last week, so we've reset back, so we're back to 550 quid at the moment. So the cost up there is £2 a week, but because there's 52 weeks in a year, not 48, it works out pro-rated at £8.67 a month. And you can pay quarterly, 6 monthly and annually. Payments can be by any method, basically cheque, standing order, cash, PayPal. We've got our own accounts, and the payments are split 47.5% towards a prize fund, 50% towards a distribution fund, and 2.5% towards a cost fund, which is our minimal operating costs, because we're a non-profit organisation. So the membership, as I mentioned, 524, we're up 120 from this time last year. We've currently got 7 defaulters, we're waiting to start payments or waiting to find out whether they're going to continue or not. Membership, when we rebranded to the CUFC lottery from the CFU lottery, was 204, so we've grown quite a bit in that short period. So that's about 2.5 years. Membership at the rebrand, again at 2022, was 281. Individuals can hold as many accounts, memberships as they like, there's no limits. Some people have got 2 or 3 as well. So the balances, the prize fund we've currently got nigh on £19,000 in there. The cost fund we've currently got £1,200 in there to spend if we need to. The distribution fund we've got 11,500, and the jackpot prize was sitting at 1,050 at the end of February. It's currently sitting at £550 now. And the monthly turnover with the number of members we've got is 4,500, and it's nearly 55 grand a year. Thing to note is every 100 members equals 5,200 extra to spend in the distribution fund. Yeah, so 524 members, the growth is 524 a week, which is 2,270 a month. So that's an impressive 27,500 a year. Expensive, like I mentioned, is only 2.5%. We have an annual website hosting charge from our sponsors, Postscript. We also pay the Cambridge City Council, and again there's minimum operating costs now, especially now that we're paying people out via bank transfer rather than cheques. Developments, we've increased social media presence, and we promote CFU sort of like lottery winners as well. The club supplies all the money can't buy prizes, which are the midweek ones on a Wednesday. Membership's grown steadily despite the economic climate. We are losing quite a few members of late because the hardship is out there. Once membership exceeds 610, we'll introduce a 5th weekly prize, and every 100 members thereafter, of course, there'll be another weekly prize on top of that again. We actively encourage members to actually give us any ideas for anything fans facing we can do, or charitable as well. So please help us spread the word, and if you're interested in signing up, then we've got plenty of cards around, and there's a QR code you can scan as well. So regarding the winners, we've had 3 Abbey Accumulator, which is a Friday one, winners of late. 4th one was last Friday as well. We've paid out nearly 14,000 to the members in the must-win Monday draws. We celebrated the club's milestone 1,000th home league game and 2,000th game full stop in the Football League. And the grand total of prizes paid out to all members last year was just over 20,000. And they are the money can't buy prizes, but don't worry about those. They're available if you need to see them. And they're available on our website as well. We've stuck this presentation on there. Thank you for listening.
It's very impressive, I think, what the lottery are contributing to the club, so thanks for that. I notice that Terry's put me down on the agenda for a report on the shadow board, but I'm going to keep that very, very short, since it's very much in a state of flux. And at the moment, we're waiting to see how it develops. Suffice to say that for the moment, Ben Phillips, Anuska and myself are on it. We're waiting to see what will happen with the golden share, because I think that's perhaps the key to what the shadow board are able to do in the future. We're waiting to see what difference it makes when and if an independent moderator is put in charge of football, because clearly the people running it at the moment don't know what they're doing. And we're looking closely at the changing nature of the game. We've been in conversation with other clubs which have shadow boards. We're trying to learn from those. I know things are changing very rapidly at the moment, and when there is something more to report, I'll be very happy to do that. Now, we're nearly there, so thank you for your patience. Terry, are these 2 votes? You may well want to take charge of these, because you know what you're talking about, allegedly.
Hello again. Come on. That's not quite as good as it should be. So, CFU has a bunch of rules that we have to work to. I'm sure you've all read them. Yes, good, thank you. And those rules are what we work to. They're on the website and they've been there for a while. There's now a new set of model rules. Oh, there you go. There's now a new set of model rules that comes from the FSA, the Football Supporters Association. That's the body that took over from Supporters Direct, who generated the original model rules. So my proposal is that we, CFU, should accept those new rules. It's not quite as simple as we just say this is what we're going to do, because we as a board can't do it. We need you to vote and agree to it. So what I've done up there is tried to look at the old rules, look at the new rules, and see what the differences are. So the bits in bold are the things that I think are the most important, and they're not actually that important really. Well, a lot of it is just changing the name at the top, which is unfortunate because they mentioned it, the Supporters Direct was mentioned a lot of times, now it's all FSA. And there's probably the newest things is that we have additional power to hold a virtual meeting. At the moment, we couldn't have this meeting as a virtual meeting. But now we can, if you vote for these rules. Similarly, we can't use online voting with the current set of rules. So there are a number of reasons why I believe it's a good thing to update them. The other thing is the change of registered office. From when I was secretary, the registered office was my house in Melbourne because that was convenient. Since I haven't been secretary for a number of years, we haven't changed it because nobody changed it. Now I've moved house, it's a bit of a pain really, so we've had to change it, and now our registered office is actually care of the club. So that has to go on that document as an official document that gets registered. So we don't have to use these rules. However, if we were not to, we'd have to generate our own, and that would take a lot of time, effort and cost to do something that is effectively already there. And the majority of trusts and society boards use those model rules. So members, you guys need to vote, and we need 75% of those voting to vote in favour for them
Terry,
to...
I think we ought to say that although we have permission to use virtual meetings, we don't plan to replace next year's AGM by a virtual meeting.
Absolutely.
You know,
it just gives us the opportunity, and that's an opportunity, particularly during COVID, that we could have used, but wouldn't in theory have been able to use. So we need, I need to, if we do vote at this and it's approved, it then gets registered with the Financial Conduct Authority, and when they have approved it, it then becomes official and it will go on our website. That could take 6 or so weeks. But first of all, I'm going to propose that we should accept these changes. If there's a seconder?
Yeah, we are.
So we have a seconder. Could I ask for a show of hands, all those in favour? Thank you. Are those any against? Good. Any abstentions? Marvellous. Okay, thank you very much. That will be carried and we'll get that in process. Thank you.
Right, it's extremely unlikely, but has anybody... Oh, is that a slide?
Yes.
Right, well... Nobody tells me anything.
So I'm just going to do a quick report on Amber Bells. Amber Bells do stand outside of CFU, but we're members of CFU and we do some projects together, so we thought we'd put a little report in. So in case you didn't know, Amber Bells is the female supporters group for Cambridge United. We were formed in 2021 and it was myself and Emma Smith who founded it. We created it as a safe space for our female supporters, and we call it a safe space because some female fans don't feel that they can put their opinions out in public or go on with the message board all the time, so we've got this safe space for them to use it. While we don't have many problems with sexism and abuse and things like that at this club, a lot of other clubs do have that as a real problem. So we've been working as well with Her Game too, just to make sure that there's good things in place between us and the club if anyone does come to us to report any issues with behaviour or abuse. We've done some more positive things, so we've created some Amber Bells pin badges which are on sale via the CFU shop and the club shop. And at Christmas we also did some mugs for merchandise with the help of Terry. So we're really grateful for CFU's help with that. Since we've formed, we've done some different projects, so we've helped some fans come to the games on match days by getting lifts from other people, by matching them up with areas that they live. We've held a female fans forum, which we had representatives from the club on, and they were really supportive of that. We pushed to have sanitary emergency products in all the toilets, and we got that help from Ian Darla's charity and Tesco's on Newmarket Road. So that's just helpful for anyone that needs it. We've got Facebook, X, Twitter and Instagram accounts. We've taken part in an EFL presentation about female fans and any supporters groups and problems that we've encountered. got a regular feature in the matchday programme. We've sponsored 2 of our women team players. We joined in with the Heart Foundation CPR training at the ground, and we formed partnerships with other female fan groups as well. And we've also recently joined the FSA as an associate member. And as I mentioned, we've partnered with Her Game Too, which is an organisation that helps with sexism within football. And we've appeared on under the Abbey Sound podcast when they talked about abuse and behaviour against women. So as we approach our 3rd birthday, we have recently sent out a survey to the fan base to ask if there's any issues that our female fans have with coming to games, or any issues at the ground that we could help with, and any barriers that they might have. And in order to do any further projects, we would need some sponsorship, so if anyone knows of any ideas for sponsorship, that would be really helpful for them to come to us. And we'll just continue to provide a safe space and a confidential space for female fans to report anything to us. Thank you.
Well, just before we draw the raffle, which is the high point of the rest of the evening, I think, does anybody else have any other business? I very much doubt it. So, Cherry, who's going to be drawing the raffle? Me?
Yes, you're the oldest.
I don't think there was any need for that, was there? Anyway.